Whether you're a teen or 30-something, we see too much sucker shit going on in the world. Not enough of us are sharing the script to help us all do better for ourselves. Enjoy this unfiltered, no bullshit game about how to survive and thrive in your Black awesomeness. Come through, listen, and think with the Queen.
What up? What it do? This is Queen Doja. I just wanted to tap in with y'all for a minute, and this is episode 4 of the Script Podcast. So I am so excited to be rolling along. I hope you guys are enjoying what you've heard so far, and yeah, so let's just jump right into it. So this episode, I really wanted to have a discussion about values, um, especially for my young people who have heard these terms, should I say, who have may have heard these terms and don't necessarily know what they mean. But it's something that you definitely should know, because the older you get, the more they're going to come into play, especially as you move through relationships, as you move through the workplace, as you just make moves in general. So let's start by defining what a value is. Now, just to be clear, I'm not talking about, the value of a inanimate object. I'm talking about um, a a mental concept. So according to dictionary.com, a value is a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what's important in life. Um, Now, values are personal. They're also very subjective, meaning that they're based on you as an individual, and they can also be arguable. Every person is going to have different values, and that doesn't necessarily mean that one's values are right above another's, or below another's, but still, it's something that each of us has a right to figure out for ourselves. As you can tell from that definition, the word principles is in it as well. And principles is more objective, more factual, based on truth, like undisputed shit. Um, so it's kind of like a person's undisputed shit, if that makes sense. So there's also such things as universal values. And the definition for that is that a value that has the same importance or worth for all or almost all people. Some are found to cross great diversity of human cultures. So um, I would say, like, a definition of a universal value is. Um, could be seen as like freedom. Freedom is actually one of the values that's in the charter for the United Nations. And, the United Nations is supposed to be for all humans. Other things on that list are like peace and human rights and equal rights and that type of thing. But freedom is something that every human wants, every culture wants. They just want to be able to do them and not have to worry about somebody else coming in fucking that up. Um, so what I want to do with this episode is talk about my top 3 values and kind of define those and break down how questions you can ask to evaluate whether a person is exhibiting these particular values towards you, as well as how you are um, reflecting those values to yourself. So let's get into it. So my top three values are respect, integrity, and loyalty. Surprisingly, as I was doing my research for this, I found that these are actually three of the seven core values for the U.S. Army. And I have family members that are in the Army as well as other branches, every other branch of the military. And I imagine that these three are also part of that. And if you know anybody that's in the military, then you're well aware of um, how strict they are about certain things. Like you just don't do these things around military people because they will fuck you up. So you know, and that's why people hold military personnel in such high regard. Most of the time when you come across a military person, they're thanked for their service because that is a respect that most people, especially most Americans, give to their military personnel. Now, of course, we know that history um, will show that, the population has not always respected military personnel, especially if they have black and brown skin. But that's a whole nother show and a whole nother discussion. So let's get back to it. So let's start with respect. The definition of respect, let's see. I have I have about three of them, but they all, they're all kind of course, meaning the same thing. So, respect is esteem for or a sense of the worth or excellence of a person, a person's quality or ability, or something considered as a manifestation of a personal quality or ability. The condition of being esteemed or honored, favor or partiality. So, um, with that, when I hear that definition, it makes me think of self esteem. Some people have high self esteem, some people have low self esteem. So it seems like it's almost like saying some people have high respect for themselves and some people have low respect for themselves. So, um, especially when you're young, we get this idea of, you sometimes think when you're being disrespected and when you're not. And as you grow older, most of the time you'll learn that some things that you considered disrespectful when you were young weren't necessarily disrespect, and you could have possibly interpreted them wrong, and you didn't understand it until you got older and had more experiences, that you realized that, oh, okay, they were really trying to, give me some criticism, but I took it the wrong way. I know I've been guilty of this, but um, I think that as I've gotten older, I've definitely gotten better in recognizing when a motherfucker is really disrespecting me. Um, so, and again, that is something personal. Like um, your line as far as respect and disrespect, you set that boundary. Um, so, ways to figure out if someone is being respectable towards you, or disrespectful. A question that I think someone could ask is, do their words make you feel bad, mad, or sad? Um, do their interactions with you, are they negative, and not constructive, meaning that they're not made to build you up, but they're intended to build you down and make you feel bad, mad, or sad. um of course, if it's the uh if it's negative, if it makes you feel negative and you can't find anything positive or about it, then yeah, I would say you're being disrespected. Um, sometimes there's always a way to say something to someone. Um, and as much as we try to say things, sometimes you have to say something to someone and you have no control of how they're going to take it. Uh, they could take it the wrong way, or they could take it in a negative way, but that's on them. Sometimes there are things that need to be said, and sometimes you can't say those in a respectful way. So it really just depends on who you're dealing with. I personally believe that um, anything that needs to be communicated can be communicated in a respectable way. And that's coming from someone with 20 plus years of customer service experience spanning multiple different industries. Um, but, you know, it's all about how you say things, it's all about your attention when you're saying them as well. Sometimes we say things to people just straight out to hurt them. That's disrespect. I mean, just straight up. So, now let's switch over to how you can determine whether or not you're being disrespectful to yourself, because that's also possible. Like when I talked about that high respect for yourself versus that low respect for yourself, high self-esteem versus low self-esteem. So a question that you can ask to determine whether or not you're being disrespectful or respectful to yourself is, does my actions, thoughts, and self talk make me feel bad, mad, or sad about myself? I know it's a lot of selves in there. But of course, your actions. Um, so, for instance, like if you're young and you're fucking a whole bunch of people, you're not using protection, you're not giving a fuck, you just out there fucking around. Um, you are in essence disrespecting yourself, because you're not respecting the temple that the universe gave you to experience this life. You're putting yourself at risk for all kinds of shit, not just babies, but also diseases, because of course men can't have babies. But yeah, you're putting yourself at risk from diseases. You can easily catch some shit that you just cannot get rid of. And then of course for women, we run the risk of, becoming pregnant. And that's not to say that, I'm not trying to imply that pregnancy is disrespectful or anything like that. But, if you're not being careful with how you're doing things, then you run the risk of making you run the risk of your actions having consequences that you will have to deal with the rest of your life. And you really need to evaluate whether you are ready for that or if not. And if you're not, then you need to really get your shit together and control yourself. So let's move on to the next one. My next one is integrity. And the definition of integrity, I found about two. And some of these words do have multiple, like 5+ definitions, because the words also can tie to, like I said, inanimate objects, different concepts. But I'm, like I said, keeping this in the form of values, which is personal. Um, so, integrity is adherence to moral and ethical principles, soundness of moral character, honesty, the state of being whole, entire, or undiminished. Now, that last one, state of being whole, entire, or undiminished, that again is a definition that could apply to an inanimate object. For instance, this microphone. If it was defective in some kind of way, then I would say its integrity is low, or it doesn't have good integrity. But it's fully functional. It's working exactly like I wanted to, so it has good integrity. But bringing it back to the value, um, adherence to moral and ethical principles. So like I said before, principles are more objective, they're more factual, based on undisputed truth. And if you learn more about ethics, those are things that, because you want to be upstanding, you want to be fair. That's really, I believe, like the main takeaway from the term ethics and being ethical, is that you're trying to be fair to all. You're not trying to give favoritism to any particular person. Now, of course, morality, you know, is also something that can be subjective. I think there are morals that are somewhat universal, but again, it really those also can be cultural. So you know, it's a whole nother show, but think about like the KKK. Their morals are not very high because they think they're superior to other people, especially blacks, Jews, whatever. Um, so they have like low moral character. Um, so with integrity, um, I know that like when I was young, um, I had issues with my mom. So my way of dealing with that was I basically moved how I wanted to move. I didn't really give a fuck about what she said or anything like that. But when I had to interact with her or whatever, I said exactly what I needed to say. I knew what to say. I omitted information when I needed to. I downright lied if I needed to. And at that time, I didn't know what integrity was. I didn't even really care because I was just too concerned with what I wanted to do um, without any consideration or really care about what she wanted me to do. Um, but when you start to exhibit that behavior on a regular basis, you will find that when you get older and you're starting to make moves, in the world, as well as getting into serious relationships with other people, that can be that can definitely cause some problems. Because one, um, you're killing any type of trust that that person either has for you or could have for you, especially when they find out that you're full of shit. And then of course, once you tell one lie, you have to continue to lie in order to keep up the facade. So you end up becoming a manipulator. And then it's like, who are you? Like, who is the real you? What can someone believe that you say? And your word is your bond. Like, if you create a habit of lying and being dishonest early, and you continue that as you get older, then nobody's going to want to fuck with you. And I really hope that this is something that especially my young people, take away, because so often we get into this pattern of, "Oh, okay, well, if I just tell this lie, I can get what I want," and you believe that's the way you should function in life. And it's not. The energy that you put into lying and being dishonest and fake is so exhausting. And of course, the consequences are never going to be good, because as soon as the people that are fucking with you find out that you have been dishonest, then it's done. Like, they don't want to fuck with you anymore. And now everything comes crashing down for what? Because you didn't want to deal with that person's reaction in that moment. Again, I've been guilty of this. Early on in my relationship with my partner, I had told a lie about where I was, not because I was doing anything I wasn't supposed to be doing, but because I knew that my partner didn't like the people I was around. So I figured in order to not make them upset, it would be easier for me to just omit where I was, and just pretend that, I was, somewhere else. Of course, that my partner ended up finding out that I was lying, and then we had to have a conversation. And that conversation basically meant, if this is what you're going to continue to do, let's stop this shit right here, because I'm not going to tolerate it. My partner gave me that ultimatum right then and there. And so at that moment, I had to make a decision. Either I was going to just woman up and I mean, not even woman up, but just be an adult about the shit and living my truth. If I want to do something, I'm gonna choose to do it regardless of what somebody else feels or thinks about it. But what I'm not going to do is jeopardize my integrity with them or myself by lying about it, because we're supposed to be grown. That's not shit grown people do. Children do that type of shit because they don't know any better, you know. But at a certain age, you know, especially once you get in your teenage years, that's some shit that you should be phasing out of your normal behavior, because in the adult world, you're going to come up really short. You temporarily, you may be up and those lies may take you places, but sooner or later you're going to crash and burn, and you're going to wish you hadn't told that one lie, or you're going to just wish you would have moved differently. So now let's get into how you can determine whether or not someone has high integrity or low integrity, or determine a person's integrity based on how they interact with you. Um, so one question you can, well, it's not even one question, it's actually like a combo. But do they lie or omit vital information from you and then give you a bullshit reason to justify why they did it? So, like I said in my example, you know, I my reason for lying to my partner was because I didn't want them to be upset. Because I was doing something that they didn't want me to do. But in all actuality, the reason why I lied is because I didn't want to deal with their reaction to what I was doing. I didn't want to face their judgment, or them being upset because I was doing something that they frowned upon. But again, it was something I wanted to do. So at that time, I was sort of in guess you could say, you know, I was in a low self-respecting stage at that moment, and hence that's why I lied about the shit. um but you know, it's kind of like something that you may encounter. Let's say, you know, you're with somebody and they cheat on you. If they give you a bullshit reason, like the reason why they cheated on you is because you didn't do something, um that's a bullshit reason. Their integrity is garbage, because if that's the case, if you didn't do something that they felt they needed in order to be in the relationship, then guess what? Fucking leave the relationship. Don't fucking cheat, because then you're damaging your integrity, and then you become the bad guy, or the bad, you know, you become the bad person in the situation because you were the one that really fucked up, when you could have easily faced the music, handled that situation like an adult, and or I should say a grown motherfucker, and fucking just said, hey, you're not doing what I need you to do, so either you're going to start doing that or I need to move on. That's how we should be handling shit versus all the cheating and all that other garbage. So again, that's a whole nother episode, but it's just an example. Um Now, how you can determine whether you have integrity towards yourself. Um are you in denial about something? Are you ashamed to look at yourself in the mirror because what you see um is based on all the lies that you've told? So again, when I mentioned earlier that the energy that it takes to lie and keep up those lies is so exhausting. Like, it's just, it brings your whole vibration down. Now, all of us should be striving to be live in a high vibration, and sometimes, you know, we're gonna slip. We're humans. We make mistakes, and sometimes we end up going low. But what you shouldn't do is lie to make yourself feel temporarily better, because it's only just going to come back, and you're going to feel the long-term effects of those. There are people out there who are just living double lives, like they, you know, don't even know who they really are anymore, because they've told so many lies and they've been fake for so long that they actually probably believe the lies. um I know somebody like this, and it's sad. It's sad because no one, and I mean no one, not their children, not their siblings, their parents, like nobody wants to fuck with them because their integrity is so fucked up. And that means that they're going to end up dying alone. And when they die or whatever, nobody's going to miss them because they're not fucking with them now. And me, I don't want to live like that. Like, I don't want people to remember me because of my fakeness and because of my lies. And you shouldn't want to either. And as far as denial, you know, denial, you may not see it when you're in it, but other people see it because they're people that are looking from the outside, especially if they know enough about you, then they can see the signs. But the key is for you to recognize the signs so you can get to a point and get the help you need in order to accept what is, and deal with it and heal and then move on. Trust me, you will be stronger for it. So, um, okay, so let me get to our last the last value I wanted to talk about, and that's loyalty. Now, of course, there's songs about it. By now, you've heard them. These hoes ain't loyal. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, you calling them hoes, but that's a whole other thing. That's just my take on that. But anyway, um, so the definition of loyalty is the state or quality of being loyal, faithfulness to commitments or obligations. So, um, one thing that I have found when it comes to loyalty is that um, just because you are blood related to someone, just because you've known someone for a long time, doesn't necessarily guarantee loyalty. Loyalty is exhibited in actions, not just words. Because of course, somebody who has trash integrity will make it seem like they loyal, but in all essence, they're actually not. Um, and when it comes to commitments, for instance, if you get a job, you in essence are signing on, you're basically giving them your loyalty for a paycheck. So if you don't show up to work, that means you're not being loyal to your obligation, and hence they will fire you. Like, it's just that simple, and that's just a basic loyalty. But one thing you also learn, especially if you're young now and as you get older, those blood relatives or those people that you've known for a long time, the loyalty that you give them may not be of the same level that they are giving you. And it's important to learn how to evaluate that, because if not, you're going to be wasting your time and energy on people who do not deserve it. And when you look up and realize that, and it's been years, you're going to feel pretty fucking angry about that shit, because you're going to feel like you wasted your time and energy and love and all that other shit. And in essence, you have, because um, you weren't aware, or maybe just didn't take the time to really evaluate that loyalty to them as well as from them. So, questions to ask to evaluate this, especially somebody's loyalty towards you. Do they or have they conspired against you? Do they smile in your face but throw you under the bus or cheer when you fail, instead of having your back and supporting you when you're down? Um, that's really key, because um and sometimes it's hard to tell, but you really just have to really pay attention and definitely trust your instinct. If you have a friend who seems like they are loyal to you, and they got your back, they ride or die and all this or whatever, but you know, something inside your intuition is telling you something ain't right. Why do I feel this way around this person? I mean, yeah, I'm seeing them do everything I expect my loyal friend to do. But yet I still have a feeling that something else is going on in the background. And It's possible that, again, the level of loyalty that they're giving you may not be the same level of loyalty that you're giving them. And either you're going to pull back some so you're even, or, or you guys need to have a conversation. Now, ways to uh, determine if you're loyal to yourself. Do you engage in self sabotage? Do you put others' well being before your own, as well as have faith in others above yourself? So, when I was thinking about the question of do you engage in self sabotage, I actually had to look that up, because just to be clear on what is considered self sabotage. According to Psychology Today, behavior is said to be self sabotaging when it creates problems in daily life and interferes with long standing goals. The most common sabotaging behaviors include procrastination, self medication with drugs or alcohol, comfort eating, and forms of self injury such as cutting. So, um, the one person who absolutely, positively, without question, that deserves loyalty is you to yourself. Um, there shouldn't be anything that makes you um, put someone else above you, because you have to, if you are not whole, you are not going to make somebody else whole. Like, that's not how that works, and another person can't make you whole either. So, one of the things that definitely hope young people start to do or learn to do is to learn about themselves, to figure out what loyalty looks like to them, what it means for them to feel whole and loyal to themselves, because that's going to determine what loyalty you give to another person. And then you have something to gauge that loyalty on. Um, and then putting others before yourself. It's kind of like, when you fly and the flight attendant gives you those instructions. Put your own face mask on first before you help the children, before you help someone else, you know, and that's the key. Like, loyalty can be looked at the same way. If you're not loyal to yourself, then you're not going to really be able to be loyal to somebody else. Because then it's like not even 100, it's 50. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're not even 100% loyal to yourself. How are you going to be able to give 100% loyalty to someone else? Like, that doesn't even equate. Like, it doesn't work out like that. So I'm gonna so I hope that this breakdown of respect, integrity, and loyalty helps you kind of think about how you feel about yourself and how you interact with others, to make sure that you are at your best and that you're treated the best way you deserve. I think that's something we all should be striving for. And I think these values help us move in a more high vibrational way. So, with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Script Podcast. Uh, Comment, subscribe, follow, do all the shit. um, and I definitely hope you continue this journey with me. So, episodes drop every Saturday at 4:20, and I'll holla at y'all soon.
That's enough game for now. Follow Queen Doja on Facebook and Instagram at The Script Podcast, online at thescriptpodcast.com, and YouTube at bit.ly/The Script Podcast. Stay awesome, blessed, and always on script.